Hey guys, what's up? This is Damnation-n-Hellfire, and I'm with Shane, Hal, and Drizzt. And today we're going to be talking about espionage. I feel like we should be watching like James Bond or Mission Impossible or something while we're doing this raid. But yeah, so we're going to be talking about tips and tricks, a little bit on targets, and then we'll be discussing different builds that we're using and potential builds that we think could work that we're not currently using. So, Drizzt, I'm going to go ahead and ISO on you if you want to go straight into the slides.
All right, man. Let me get to. Are you seeing the slides? No, because I'm not screen sharing.
Screen sharing's your friend.
Screen sharing is your friend. All right. All right, guys. Are you guys seeing slides now?
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
cool. All right. Guys, to begin with, we'll talk about, builds in the slides. We'll do builds. And then I've got maps of every target, screenshots of every target. And then we'll just talk about tips and tricks. But this is the
back up 1 second to that. Back to that title slide. That's the badge up there in the upper left hand that you get, right?
Oh, yep. That's the badge you get. Now, I don't know if you have to just participate by killing, getting 1 point. I don't know if there's a certain point level to that, but I assume it's just participation badge that you have to get.
I kind of like it. I think it's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
I show on the badges right here, claim that Gridon's monolith for that badge.
Okay, so you got to get the flagship, another flagship. We'll leave that for later, though, right? Okay. Anyway, Back to builds, guys. That's the icebreaker build that I'm using. Not exactly sure yet, being day one, if I'm 100% happy with this build or not. I do know that the Trident missile will shoot down cold snap rockets, and that's not going to shoot a mile down. And the coaxial firestorm, it will outrange the cold snaps. But one coaxial firestorm is not going to do the job to kill it. You'll sit there forever. And with the amount of morts that are falling on your head, you don't have time. Of course, this build has no anti-morts on it, so I don't have time to sit there and wait for one coaxial firestorm to kill a cold snap. I do have two charged armors of each type, the penetrative and the explosive, and the specials. I really try, when I made this build, guys, I tried to get as much splash as I could out of this build, and I also wanted to narrow the spread. I think the spread on these rockets is 150. I wanted to narrow that. I got it down by half, so it's at 75, and the splash is at 177%. You can usually, so far on the 80s, on most of the platforms, if I target one turret, I can splash the rest out without activating them with this build. But like I said,
I know the DPS number for buildings on this build is pretty freaking impressive too. It's like, if I recall correctly, when I put in the Huggies, you're looking at over 500,000 damage per second against buildings.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's a massive amount of damage that it does. So far, I'm taking about 30 minutes damage per 80 level target with 4 of these boats, which I'm not completely, that's not bad. I'm not disappointed with that. If I did do a rebuild, I'm thinking as of now, of course this could change, taking off that coaxial firestorm, adding another rocket to that boat. But pre-show Damnation and Shane and I were talking, maybe wise to add some anti-mort and maybe a Phalanx 3 to that.
Yeah, because like I know one of the important things is, and we'll talk about this more when we get to the strategy section, but on your slow creep up to try to snipe out the cold snaps on the corner, like you're going slow enough that sometimes the mortar could potentially land on your head. And as we all know, mortars landing on your head is generally not a good thing.
No, it does hurt. So you know, we'll see after the raid. Maybe that could be something we can discuss on next Thursday show. Maybe some refits, different strategies, things like that. And if you don't have the icebreaker, well, if you're using the monolith, or if you're thinking about using the monolith, here's one build that we were talking about in pre-show. And it does have some anti-mort on it. But you'll notice that this boat does not have a motor. It does not have a increase in your combat speed because of this.
That right there, I did this with the Apollos, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you did not put an engine on the Apollos, you did not get the wind-up speed. And I've seen in some of the tracks that the same thing is happening on this. If you do not put an engine on it, it's not going to go no faster than the 12 mile an hour.
I mean,
Really?
that's a pretty easy fix though, because you could just take off the explosive upgrade and put like an engine 1 even on it.
Well,
Because the whole point of not having an engine or having it go slow is so that it makes it easier to kind of keep in line with your tank that you're going to be running, instead of having your monolith fleet shoot way the hell out in front of your tank.
Yeah.
Okay.
But now these are incredibly heavy. The mortars are. What are they, like 675 tons?
Yeah.
I don't recall the number right off the top of my head, but yeah, they're heavy.
They're 6 something.
Yeah, they're very heavy, so it's almost impossible to get a full boat full of these things with decent specials. So you can trim down, use the Judgment Mort. You can also use coaxial. Coaxial is a little lighter. It also is a little quicker build. So if you don't have Judgment, coaxial is fine too. But this is a pretty good build, we think. Of course, I'm personally not running a monolith in this raid. I've did the TLC, and I've got the hull, and I've got everything that goes with it, and I've got the tokens for it, but I have not built it yet. This is Shane's Zelos tank. Now you'll notice here that I'm overweight when I built it in my shipyard because I do not have shipyard level 4 yet. Shane does, so this works for him. So Shane, I'll let you.
Okay. On this right here, I mean, I've thrown in the Hail D for the faster reload time with all the other stuff on there, the other Gales. That's the only reason it's in there for. I run all the D1 armors for cheaper repair time overall. I've got the 3 Inferno rockets on there. That's actually only on there for the 5% defense to the 3 penetrative, ballistic, and explosive defenses. Right. Now I can replace those 2. I don't know if I think it might increase my repair modifier, giving me more longevity out of the hull if I was to replace those 3 with 2 Pandemonium mortars. But I stuck with the 98 range missile Harrier there. Keep up my evasion as high as I could get it, and the turret defense with the frontline countermeasure. I thought that the mines would give you concussive damage, so that's really the main reason I did the hydraulic resistor engine on it. Now the heavy plating there is that's engineering my speed so it runs with my Empyreans. I'm probably like a mile and a half hour faster than my Empyreans because I did not put the resonance capacitor on my Empyreans. So my fleet they run 48. He runs like right at 50.
Okay.
So that's why it's configured the way it is. But I probably could change out those Inferno rockets for Pandemonium mortars, and it might be better, or it might be better just like it is. For now, it's doing fine, so I'm liking it so far.
Okay. All right. And here is your Imperium build, correct?
Yes. I used a projector plotter of course, to get that extra reload out of it. I think it's reloaded. Let's see. Mortar reload, yeah. And then I don't have the other special for where I'm using velocity regulator down there. I don't have that special that come out with the scatter gun that reduces spread and gives you splash.
Right.
So I went with that. And then, of course, the Garrison battery, and then the high velocity shells. Those all are big keys in order to get those mortars to where they need to go pretty quick.
Right. Because anything you can do to increase splash is going to really help you out in this raid series for the next 3 months. If you can target one turret on an island or a platform and splash out the rest without even activating them, that is probably one of the biggest things you're going to see help you out in the long run with your ship builds when you're talking about garrison or siege type targets.
Yeah. Now, the one thing on this hull that I noticed between my citadels, I'm pushing like around 140% splash with my citadels. But with judgment mortars, the splash is still around 40, 42, something like that. Now, them new Z mortars right there, even though I'm just doing 110 splash on this hull, I still have a splash range of around 40 to 42 with those particular mortars.
Okay.
Retro those dudes, you get more splash out of them, and it really pays off.
Okay. Guys, you're talking about distance. A land tile is, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, it's 20, right?
Yes.
So if you're getting 40 splash, you're covering 2 land tiles, which is more than enough to cover these platforms.
Yes.
Now you may not completely kill the turret, but you're going to do significant damage to it.
Yeah, and they've been doing a pretty good job of, like, when the first weapon there dies and all the rest of the mortars in the air, they do this fleet right here. I pretty much clean off the platforms.
Right. Good deal. Icebreaker tank. Here's an idea that I know a lot of people have been toying with. I know I personally am. If I go with the monolith for next month's raid, my next icebreaker build will be a tank. Whether I build a whole new boat or if I just refit one of my icebreakers. They're made to take damage in these targets. They're fast. They turn good. So this is definitely an option. One of the things that we talked about in the pre-show, Damnation brought up, was this high velocity rounds. What we're learning, Damnation, I'll let you go over that. You go ahead and discuss that.
Oh, it just seems like from everything I've been picking up and from what we've been learning that projectile speed definitely does tend to help antis. So high velocity round on your anti-boats, not necessarily a bad idea.
Right.
If you got the slot for it.
Yeah.
In this configuration, if you wanted to go the 98 range, if that wasn't working for you, that would be what I would switch out for the solid fuel and the squall launcher for the missile. If it become a problem and couldn't, stay out of the cold snap shots, or getting inside of a halo or an arc missile inner circle.
Yeah, guys, that's a really good point. We probably need to talk about here, because we've got 2 Gale 3s, and then we've got the new D anti-mort on. And as Shane was saying just a second ago, if you don't have the squall launcher and if you don't have the high velocity rounds, use solid fuel booster 3, use a Harrier missile. You don't have to have the latest and greatest to make a viable tank. And whether you're talking about your FM targets, you're talking about these targets, use what you have. You want as much range as you can get as a spotter. So your remote mort fleets will fire quicker. And, I'm really kind of up in the air between the 2 anti-morts, which one's better. That D's got a much faster reload time. I think it's got a little shorter range, doesn't it?
If I'm thinking right, they're the same.
The range is the same.
Let me check just real fast.
One has a faster reload and the other one has a higher accuracy, and I think that's why most people have started mixing them. That way you can have the best of both worlds.
They are different ranges. The D has a range of 31, and the Gale has a range of 44.
Okay.
So anything that the Gales would miss, the faster reload of the Ds would pick up. Because these do not work like phalanxes. If one anti-mortar misses a shot, another anti-mortar will pick it up.
Right. Okay. Well, guys, that's this is an option for a tank. If you've got the icebreaker and you're thinking about using it as a spotter. Next build that's the builds. I'm sorry, that's the builds that we've got so far today. Now, guys, I've got a screenshot of every target that we're currently able to access through this raid. Now, we're going to talk about the tier 6 targets in this show, but after the show is over, I will be saving these slides as a PDF and posting them on the page. So, if you want to go back through and look at any of the builds or any of the target maps, you feel free to. But we'll stop right here on the level 81.
Studying your target before you go running through it like a bull in a china shop is definitely a great thing to do, because then you can approach it in a fashion that's going to give you the least amount of damage possible instead of just trying to figure it out once you're in there.
Exactly.
Yeah. Entry point's going to be good. Try to figure out on this, because I've only done 181 and I came in and it set my DPS ships right on top of a mine. Yeah. And I didn't notice it till it started because it was under the comms.
Yeah.
So that hurt.
Yeah.
So it looks like this picture, probably 6 o'clock, 12 o'clock.
I'm coming in on every 80 level target, your tier 6 target at dead 6 o'clock. Seems to work out best for me so far.
Okay. Cool.
Now I know on these targets you can come in anywhere you want to, but so far I am. You can see, if you look at the boats on the right hand side, you can see they're not stacking very well so far in this raid. You can at this point, whether you're on the right hand side at 3 o'clock or like me, I come in at 6, you can drive around and make turns and adjust your stacking, and nothing's going to fire at you. So once I get my stacking as good as I can possibly get it, I come to this turret right here, this one turret. I come up to at this angle and I target that one. All my icebreakers fire and I splash out the entire platform. The cold snaps never fire at me on the 81 right here.
Is that a missile on that bottom corner?
Yeah, that's definitely the key here in the 81s. When you get to those 4-corner clusters of turrets, target the ones with your icebreakers or with your tank if you're using a mortar fleet, either one, that is the missile turret and not the cold snaps, and you'll hardly take any damage in this target whatsoever.
Right, yeah. After I kill this platform, I come back out into this area and just come down parallel to this platform. If I do that with the speed of the icebreakers, when I do that, the halo missile that's right here will fire at me, but it will land way behind me. So I never take any damage from the halo right here. Now you've got to remember, it's kind of hidden, but there is a mort chucker turret right here. So after I kill this guy, I swing back, I get that turret, and I just, honestly, guys, I target that. I'll target that, splash out that platform. I come back up through here. I target this, splash out this one, and come back down and speed past that halo. I just zigzag back and forth in this target.
And I'll say this too, like, if time is not a big concern of yours in this raid, when you have the Legion fleets that come in and sometimes they start shooting at all these little islands and stuff their own selves. If you're not in a big hurry, let them go, dude. See how much crap they'll kill before they die.
That's right.
I did that earlier, and one of my targets, I guess it was a Zoe Citadel or whatever, was firing at one of the cold snaps, and I'm like, oh, I'm just going to sit here and wait for it to kill it, and then I'll go kill it, and I can target off the little mini missile thing that's right beside the other cold snap, as opposed to getting hit by the cold snap myself. Just patience is a virtue, man.
It is. Now, one thing I did notice, what I was concerned about at first, am I not going to get my full points if I let the other fleets kill the platforms, or if the platforms kill the other fleets? I couldn't tell the difference, guys. I didn't see any short change in points. Okay. Did you guys notice any of that?
No, I haven't done enough to really notice a total payout continually, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But that would be kind of sweet. I mean, we've had a raid before where the Reavers and the Draconians went at it, and you did get a point deficit for what you didn't kill when them killing each other. So if you can keep all the points and they do the job for you, well, yeah, that's a win-win.
I mean, and quite honestly, even if I don't get the 1,000 points for that one cold snap that they kill, I'm willing to give away that 1,000 points to save myself like 10 minutes of damage.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, guys, that's the 81. Now here is the 83. And this seems to do, for me, I do get more damage in the 83 than I do anything.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. My personal opinion is because it's those four little sections that have the cold snap, missile turret, cold snap.
Yeah, that right there.
Yeah, because you can't really target that middle missile turret without getting shot by the cold snaps. Perhaps if the stacking was working a lot better, you might be able to like ease it into there and not get hit by it. But with the way it's currently set up, it's damn near impossible. Right.
Yeah, I take almost twice as much damage in an 83 as I do at 85. You've also got the situation on your center platform. You've got the two missile turrets in the middle right here, but they're surrounded by cold snap. So it's almost impossible to target on that center one. I guess it's doable, but if you take a lot of time trying to inch up to these platforms, you're going to be taking shots from other things.
So I will say that middle island right there is probably in the entire A set. That middle island is probably the best place to use a pinch in the whole set.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, I did 81, 83, and an 85, and with my Zelos Imperions.
Mm-hmm.
Now I did some bad driving, run over mines with my Imperions, but overall my Zelos tank only took like 18 minutes damage through all three targets.
Wow, man, that's great.
Yeah, you definitely have the option of being able to outrange the cold snaps with your tank.
Yes.
Although I will say this though, like with the amount of sniping that you have to try to accomplish, even with using icebreakers, I almost feel to a certain degree like they all end up being skill fleets. You know what I'm talking about?
Right. Yeah, it's not just a click and forget it kind of raid.
Yeah, with no anti-mortars and stuff, I don't think you would want to be autoing these targets.
No. I certainly
wasted.
All right, to an 85. Guys, you still have it's not really difficult. It's spread out, the way I see it, it's spread out pretty good. And you can navigate this thing and do some sniping. But you've still got, cold snap, missile turret, cold snap, missile turret on each of the three platforms. And it's almost impossible to just target that. Again, it's doable, but you've got to inch up. You would have to take your boats and inch up in this direction. And while you're inching up, there's a Mort chucker, and then there's a halo that's firing at you all at the same time. And if you're in this area, you're probably in range of that mort chucker too, or you're getting close.
Yeah, these
So,
mortars got some long range on them.
Yeah, they do. I come around to this side I still come in at 6 o'clock, but I come around to the 9 o'clock position and try to work my way through the target from, here to here to here. Now I do activate, I shoot at the cold snap. And I try to do it pretty quickly to get my boats out of the way of the mortars and the halo.
You can actually target those shipyards too if you want, and sometimes you will actually end up splashing out like that cold snap on the corner there. So, and at that point, the one on the opposite corner. And
right there.
Yeah, I target that shipyard, and sometimes I can actually splash out that entire cold snap turret, and then that allows me to then target that missile turret and then splash out a bunch of the island.
That's a good idea. I'll try that.
It doesn't always work. Sometimes you kill that shipyard way too quick, and then all the turrets sit there and laugh at you. So you're right where you were in the first place. So it's not like it hurts to try it.
You might go in trying to target it's because the torpedo's right there in the way. When you shoot that first, it probably splashes out that shipyard there, which takes your target away for shooting. Just target the shipyard and drive past that torpedo pod as fast as you can. Get most shots out there, distance-wise, to the shipyard.
And I guess, guys, you could, if you wanted to, you could pinch each platform. Of course, you would have to retreat after each platform. But that would take a lot of time. But if you're in a pinch, if you're in a situation where you just need 185 to get what you want, that's an option. And that's an option on all these targets.
I know one thing I was curious about, for those using mortar fleets, and Shane, you can probably answer this question, is the fleets coming into these targets, how bad do they jack up your mortar boats? Because I know us using icebreakers, like the fleets do pretty much nothing to us. But I was curious.
Well, mine's not running any armors, so I haven't got caught yet. I've only almost got caught once. But I kind of think they will probably do a pretty good job on them back there if you leave them unprotected, or the ability to get back to them real quick with your tank. But I haven't had that much problem out of them. They're not hurting my Zelos at all, really. The missiles they shoot, and I'm shooting down every one of the mortars. I see a few missiles get through, but it's nothing. Now, as far as on my DPS ships, I haven't been hit with them yet. Now, they've got their own little hyena missile in there or something. And I don't know if that dude's got major splash or what. But if you scoot in too close to it, it will kill your whole DPS mortar fleet back there. It's in the 89s is where I've seen it at. It's a little black turret, but it's actually a missile. It shoots 3 salvos at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And it you can outrange it with the 98 range. But if it does hit, it does hurt. Even my Zelos.
So then, just like I suspected, having a super fast tank for these targets compared to the speed of your mortar fleets isn't a bad thing, because that gives you a whole lot more time to get it back there and maneuver it between your mortar boats and the oncoming fleets.
Yeah, and at the same time, driving your mortar fleet in the back, those mines hurt. You really got to watch what you're doing.
Yeah, that's why whenever I finally get around to building my mortar fleet, that's why I'm opted more for the icebreaker tank, because my icebreakers just like run over the mines and they're like, "Hi, how you doing? See you later."
Well, then you leave the frost out there that your ships will run over and get hurt.
Yeah, because the ice does not go away, does it?
No, it don't.
But doesn't the ice just give them a speed debuff and doesn't actually damage them?
It was causing damage to my ships.
Or was it from the ice itself or from the explosion of the mines?
No, I run over it with the Empyrean and then set it off. And then when I went to drive over it with my DPS fleet, they took damage.
So you drove over it with your Zelos, and then you drove over it with your Empyrean.
Yeah, I had to make a maneuver down there, and I didn't notice that it didn't make it. It didn't make it around the ice field yet, and they drove right through there, and I caught damage on all 4 holes.
Okay.
Just driving through the ice.
I wonder if it's
Now,
got a
you can drive in between the 2 ice packs and not catch any damage. If you got 2 to set off right beside each other, there is enough room that you can drive your tanks through it, or your DPS fleet, and they not take damage. So you can go in between them, even though they're set off. It's just a lot tighter.
Okay, that's good to know, because I haven't just using icebreakers at this point. I didn't realize that, because icebreakers just tend to not even notice that the mines are there most of the time.
Apparently, they're explosive damage, not concussive. So your awesome explosive defense might be negating all of that.
Well, there you go.
Shane, are you using any kind of macro, or using like auto hotkey or a gaming mouse to drive?
I use my arrow keys.
Just use your, okay.
Yep. I don't know how to use macros, but I use my arrow keys, and for me, it's kind of like driving a motorcycle. I just got to know what gear I'm in.
Right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or all of them. And it also depends on how you use your arrow keys, is how you set up your fleet in your shipyard, in your dock there. For me, I run my tank in slot 5. That way, I push up, it's the whole fleet driving. I push right, left on my arrow keys, and I'm on my tank driving it individually.
It just takes practice and practice and practice.
Yes.
Okay.
So, it's kind of like setting up your own configurations or whatever in controllers or whatever. Just get to where you feel comfortable of having your tank in your fleet there, be it slot 1. I've seen other people use slot 2. Slot 2, you just up, right, and you're on it,
Right.
So just figure out what works for you.
Right. All right, guys, that's the tier 6 targets, the 81, the 83, and the 85. There is the level 69 blitz target. It's a simple enough target. Seems to be nothing spectacular about it. It's got some halos in it. There is the 84. It's kind of a tight target. Obviously you're going to have to go around the circumference of it, and if you're using a spotter with a mort fleet, then you're going to have to be careful with your mine.
It's taxing driving through there, but I've been doing those for like 53-second repair.
Wow.
On the Zelos. I come in north because the ships come from the bottom.
Okay.
So I haven't come in from the bottom on these yet, because I've seen the ships were down there, and I don't want them to come up behind me. I'd rather be coming around the target, and when they decide to come in, I'm already facing them.
Correct. Okay.
I come in top and then go around clockwise, and then the fleet comes from the bottom and then from the left.
Okay. I have not hit a 69 or an 84. I did hit an 89.
That's what you said.
I did hit an 89, and there is no fleets in an 89. It is just
correct.
It's all basically like a siege target. Now you were saying there is a.
Okay. Yes, there's like a hyena missile or something. As you're coming down the right there, and into that slot right there, and it comes across to the left, right before you reach that platform, or the left platform, all the way left. Go further. Okay, there's a weapon right out in front of that, all by itself.
Right there. That
is the meanie. Okay, be careful, because coming straight down that wall, there's another one right in the middle of that next land. As you're coming straight down from that platform, there you go. It's right there.
Okay.
And those things are meaning. I don't know if they got priority targeting or major splash, but I know I went in there and I didn't know what killed my DPS fleet.
Okay.
I was like, they're gone. All I had was my Zelos. And I was like, what happened?
Yeah.
And that's the one that got me.
The very first time I hit one, I've only hit one. And the time I hit it, I did it for like 31 minutes repair. I think it was a 2-coin instant repair. I could do 5 coins instant repair, and of course I would double my points, which is 1.6 million or I could use 50 coins for instant repair and get 10 times, which would be 16 million points. So, but I do not know what the blitz costs are on the other two, because I have, honestly, at this point, I've not hit them yet. But those are the targets, guys. Like I said, all these will be up on the page here shortly. But now let's talk about some helpful crews. I think, for me, anything that is going to increase splash will probably be your biggest, your best friend as far as crews go. And if you're talking about the value of a crew, look at the difference. Now, I got this off of Huggies. It's not Disciples of Hellfire anymore. What is it, Damnation?
Hellfire Heathens.
Hellfire Heathens. If you'll notice that the splash on this is 14%. The splash on your silver Molotov Maidens is 30%. It's not that big of a loss to use a easier to get crew. So, I mean, it's worth trying. If you're having trouble splashing out turrets on the other side of a platform, this is a cheap crew. It's easy to roll. Give it a shot.
Yeah, that'll come in handy.
Also, if you're using icebreakers, you're using rockets more than likely. You got a rocket critical hit chance of plus 8%. But we've kind of tried to line these up, guys, in the order of the least valuable to the most valuable. The Wrecking Crew, Creeping Death, and also the Demolition Squad are going to give you building damage buffs, which is, of course, helpful, but it's not going to increase your splash. It's only going to really affect the actual turret that you're targeting. I'm assuming the splash damage is also, it's affecting a building, so I guess it would increase that damage, but it's not going to increase the overall splash of the weapon.
Yeah, if you're okay with power wise, it'd probably be best to go with the splash. Yeah. And then vice versa, if you feel you're good in splash, I would go with the power just to knock out the target quicker.
Right, yeah. The quicker you kill it, the least chance it has to reload and fire again.
Exactly.
Now, the Demolition Squad, as far as actual hitting targets, it doesn't have splash, but it does give you an extra 30% defense buff, which is obviously going to be helpful if you're running the icebreakers. I'm sure it'd be going to be helpful too if you're using a Zelos tank, but from what I'm understanding from Shane, he's taking a lot less damage on his Zelos tank than I am in my icebreakers. So,
yeah, it's as long as I don't walk into stuff, like I said, that hyena missile thing in there, that one put a hurt on me.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I mean,
it can be outranged.
By all rights, too, he should be taking a lot less damage because he's only getting one boat damage, whereas we're getting like 4 boats damage at a time.
True. Yeah. And of course, always in a raid, Grease Monkey is a very valuable crew, but it's not something that you want to use while you're hitting a target, guys. This is a dock-only crew. It's just going to reduce your damage or your half repair.
Yeah.
Yeah, your best time for when you want to use Grease Monkeys is if you got a couple coins on your account and you want to sit down and you want to bust out like a whole bunch of points for maybe like an hour and a half or whatever. And that way you can spend half the amount of coins on your repair. You just keep the Grease Monkey in your dock and your other crew on your fleet while you're hitting. You come back to your dock, swap it out, repair, and then swap it back out again and go back to your other crew and go out and continue causing havoc. I know I myself will be using Molotov Maidens for almost this entire raid just because I like that big splash buff, and quite frankly they're a whole hell of a lot easier to get than what demo squads are. So I'm like, yeah, if I can use a much easier crew and get just as much success, that's the smarter thing to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And
yeah, you just have to play with them to figure out what works well for you, where you're at with your build.
Yeah. Well, guys, as far as the slides go, that's all I've got on the slides. So,
do we want to talk about prizes a little bit and what our
yes,
personal opinions are on what we think is worth it and what we don't think is worth it?
yes, I think that would be great to do. Let me go back to sharing my screen here, and we'll just open my game here. Let me refresh. I was hands off the wheel. All right, prizes. Now, as you can see, this is one issue. We'll just go ahead and clear it up. I've got the left side already done, but I had that before the raid. I had all these prizes, but it did not unlock to lock prizes for me. As far as I understand, you have to claim at least one special before you can.
Yes, apparently we were given, in my opinion, what I consider extremely bad information by the game developers when we were told as long as you had all the stuff on the left-hand side, you should be able to go straight into the locked prizes. Right. Like, I don't ask for a whole lot in this world, but if you're going to tell me something, at least have it be accurate. You know what I mean?
Exactly. That should have been something that they had foreseen.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a pretty big deal too. But I don't want to spend a whole lot of time bashing about it. I'm just saying that's a pretty big deal. So this next time you're going to tell us that something like that, make sure you got your info right. That's all.
Yeah, get your stuff straight. All right, I can't see the. I can't access anything in the lock store as far as getting it, but that to me is I'm definitely going to go after the Vagazo's Icebreaker.
Well, let's go ahead. Let's start with the Harlock's Alpha Behemoth. Let's just
okay.
Zoom in I guess what the kind of order is. What are your guys' thoughts on this?
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of this hole yet, man. I mean,
I would have now the Harlock's Alpha Behemoth I saw in the preview server with the weapon and the special outranged the Liberator. I was excited about being able to defend my base against the 5 Liberator fleets that were coming in and just walking my base. But they have nerfed the special to not give you the range buff that it was giving you in the preview. So you still cannot outrange the Liberator.
So it did get back down to where it doesn't attain the 116?
Correct. They reduced the special. It only gives you 12% Thor range, where in the preview it was giving you 22%.
Okay, I thought they took it off the special and applied it to the hull, so you could still acquire that because the hull has the 10% radioactive range on it. That would still equal out to the 22, right?
Well, here's a question, and I know that the thrower does radioactive damage, but it is not labeled as a radioactive weapon. It is a thrower weapon.
Okay, well, on the Enforcer and Vanquishers and the Valiant, I get the extra range for radioactiveness on throwers.
Okay.
It is a radioactive weapon, damage type or whatever, but I mean, you do get the extra range. I mean, I've got the 80 range thrower on my Vanquisher, and I get the 88 range out of it.
Okay. I don't know. I know I put it in Huggies, and I think I got 103 or 104. But I don't know how all that's figured. So that's above me.
Yeah. Somebody's gonna have to build it to find out for real.
Right. I mean, it's obviously made. It's a countermeasure boat, also with the anti-mortar ranges and accuracies buffs, and it's also got the UAV damage buffs and chaining. But for me personally, the only reason I am going to claim this boat, weapon, and special is so I can unlock the lock store. Probably will never build it. More than likely.
Well, and to unlock the lock store, all you gotta do is claim the special, correct?
Yes, I believe that is correct.
Okay.
I'm not impressed by it. I wasn't impressed by the regular Alpha Behemoth. I'm not impressed by the Harlock's Alpha Behemoth.
Yeah. The weapon is obviously not it is a fleet versus fleet weapon. It is not a fleet versus building weapon because the damage.
And conqueror and defense hulls only. So this will not go on your old executioner. Or is it? Yeah, that. I mean, what was that original?
Enforcer.
Yeah.
So conqueror and defender hulls.
Yeah, it's defender. That's a defender hull. So
yeah,
it'll go on there. It just won't go on your other stock hulls.
Right.
I will say this: if the 10% radioactive range buff on the hull stacks with this 12%, and then you add that on to the weapon range is what, 88, correct?
Yes.
That puts you at 107.36.
Okay.
So at that point, you would
barely.
Right.
But yeah. Okay.
Which might change my opinion a little bit, but I'm still not sure it's enough to make me be like, oh boy, I got to get this.
The only other thing that attracts me to it is the 90 thermal on it, on the hull.
Right. All right. That's the weapon, and the special of the month is the Polonium Accelerator, which gives you 30% thrower damage, 12% range, and 25% reload. So,
okay, if you used to put this on that hull has 75% thrower damage.
mm-hmm.
So you'd add another 30 on top of that.
Right.
It sounds good on paper.
It sounds good on exactly. It sounds good on paper. I have to see it in practice.
Yeah,
definitely have to see it in practice before I would actually allocate the shipyard time to building this thing. I'm sure it is not. I don't even know what the
build time
is on an Alpha Behemoth. Harlock's is, for me, blank one is 9 days, 16 hours. Of course, I do not have access to officers, so it's going to be much, a little bit less for you guys who have officers.
Almost a day less.
Yeah. All right.
Do you want to go into the gridiron monolith?
Yes. Where is that? There he is. All right. The gridiron monolith. This is probably, I'm confused about this boat. I don't understand its purpose. I would assume that it would buff your, and it does, as far as I understand, it does give, buffs to the monoliths in your fleet. However, it does not, you cannot use it as a remote mort chucker hull because it has no remote mort feature. The only attack buffs it has are your your countermeasure, which I guess it could run alongside the other monoliths that you have.
I think what they want is, I think they want this to be a tank, but my personal opinion, looking at it on paper and not having actually seen one in action, I think it's piss poor tank.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to spend the build time to.
Another thing that I've heard about this, I'm not positive, but it won't affect itself in those abilities. Apparently the 59 range it's got, how we always, it's around the hull.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently this, it works like a wake tactical module and travels behind. That 59 range travels behind it.
Oh,
not around it.
Not around it.
Yes.
Ugh.
So, I mean, you have to use it as a tank. It doesn't get those extra structure and ship deflections because it doesn't cover itself.
Okay.
And if you was to run another monolith as a tank out there in front of it, well, it's not going to get no effect because the effect is behind it, not around it.
Hmm.
So this, like I said, this hole don't make a lick of sense to me.
I know. I myself, I have no plans on getting it. I am going to build monoliths eventually, but I just plan on running them with an icebreaker tank.
Yeah, me too. I have no intention on. What is the price on this thing?
40 million. It's actually cheaper than the icebreaker. The icebreaker was 60 million.
Yeah.
That is kind of ass backwards too, as far as their definition of this is supposed to be the skill hole.
Right.
You know, the icebreaker should have been the 40 million, and this should have been the 60 million, and this ship should also be configured a lot better.
Right. If they expect it to be
the skill hole.
Yeah, the side.
The only reason we had to pay $60 million for the regular icebreaker is because we were getting it early, even though they well, never mind. I'm not going to go down that road.
Yeah, they're being jicky right now.
Yeah. The rest of your more prizes, you've got the Imperium MX Prime. Is this something that you're kind of excited about, Shane? Or
I'm already building it.
I figured.
This flagship makes sense. It actually works toward this target that we're hitting because of its bonus effects to Zelos and Imperions.
Yeah, that's one thing that Damnation brought to my attention. I did not realize that it affects the Zelos as well. An extra 50% explosive defense, penetrative defense, and explosive damage, which is really
the damage
nice.
would be none on there. I think they did all three of those because they did it on both ships. You notice they got the defenses on the Imperions back there, but by theory, those ships shouldn't even be getting hurt, so you wouldn't need the defenses.
Correct.
And flip side of the Zelos, that ship shouldn't be doing the damage. It, gets the defense buffs, but I think they had all three of them on there just because it's on both sides of it.
Right, and it's got a nice range. It's 95.
Yes,
which is
well further than what you need to keep your range at the end of your yellow line out there.
Right. Yeah, I like this. So that would be your flagship with 3 other Imperions, and then your tank in the 5th spot.
Yes.
Yeah, that it's got a nice remote. This ship makes sense to me. So. Let's see what we got here. Of course, we got the Harlock Citadel. If you don't have one of those, it's cheap, guys.
That is awesome. For a lot of people in the game, 6 million shouldn't be hard to acquire with some help. These guys only get tier 2. This hull right here is going to be heaven to them.
Yes, it will. It'll be wonderful. You get that hull. You get Combustion System 2 and the Judgment Mort. 1 million points for the Judgment, 400,000 for Combustion 2. Your FM, all you need is a tank, guys. If you're doing level 1 or tier 1 in the FM, you've got the Punisher. There's your tank. Here's your FM done. More than likely, you're going to be going from tier 2 to tier 3 to start hitting tier 5 on a consistent basis.
Yes,
with this
for this next 3 months.
Yeah.
Anyway,
right, exactly. The rest of these guys here is Tideseeker build tokens, Citadel build tokens. Would like to have seen current relevant tokens that apply to this raid in the prizes instead of Tideseekers.
Yeah, that would have been a whole lot more logical, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, whether it's Empyrean tokens, Zelos tokens, icebreaker tokens, monolith tokens, something that is applicable to what we're doing currently. They could have made a better choice there. And also, Tideseeker is only 1.5 million points. Coaxial Firestorm is 900,000. And Frontline Countermeasures only 600,000 points.
If you ain't got that one's a godsend.
It is.
Frontline countermeasures, to me, if I didn't have it, that would probably be my very first thing I would buy in its entire fucking raid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
you
got
have
like
to.
the longest countermeasure range of any of the others. The rest of them have like 50. This thing has 62.
Yeah. It's a great special. And also, it buffs your countermeasures and it gives you 50% turret defense.
Yes.
Wonderful.
And it's not
for-
really that heavy. It's 19% total weight, which isn't bad overall.
Yeah, if you're building a tank and you don't put this special on your tank, you're doing something seriously wrong.
Yeah. This is the go-to special for a tank. All right, guys. That's all the. I think that's no. We've got the Fail 4, 600,000 points for the Phalanx 4.
Wait.
You've got the Hailstorm Anymore D. If you can't afford up here in the lock store, if you can't afford 5 million points for one Gale 3, 1.2 million for the Anymore D is wonderful because you're not this is not a limited blueprint. You can build as many as you want.
Exactly. That's what I was fixing to say. I would get this first before I even thought about any of those gills if you didn't have it.
Oh yeah, this is a great weapon for your countermeasures.
Well, and a good thing too about getting it in the raid is that if you don't have it already, it knocks it off your Forsaken Mission prize list, so it puts you that much closer to just going straight to tokens.
Isn't that in tier 5 as well? So
yeah,
that knocks out a slot in a high tier there.
Right. Now that's the Phalanx 4. I believe you get that in tier 4, correct? It's a tier 4.
I think it's been moved down. So 3 or 4, one or the other.
Okay. You still cannot get the Phalanx 3 anywhere in the game right now. So if you're waiting on the Phalanx 1, the Phalanx 2, or in your regular non-limited, time-limited campaigns, but the Phalanx 3 is unavailable anywhere in the game right now. So, for 600,000 points, I would jump on this if you're doing, if you're looking to do your weekly, and you should be looking to do tier 5.
Let's zip up to the lock prizes because we're creeping up on that hour mark, and to be quite honest, I want to get back to my raids.
For me, this is one of the things I really want to get out of this raid is the flagship icebreaker.
Well, at least they kept both of those the same price. The Gridion and this one.
Yeah. Let's just kind of skip down to the special ability. But it does have a Bloodthirst. The Bloodthirst is going to apply to not only itself, but it's going to apply to all icebreakers in the fleet. But you've got to kill 20 items before Bloodthirst takes effect.
However, let me point out, with the way that these targets are, and with it being so many buildings and turrets and everything clumped up in little areas, getting to 20 counts of your Bloodthirst is not going to take that long at all.
Yeah.
And when you're hitting the bigger targets, correct.
Yeah.
The smaller targets, I was saying, they probably don't even have 20 items in them. So.
Well, I mean, quite honestly,
yeah.
if you are a player who's capable of getting the points to get this, you're probably not hitting the smaller targets anyway.
Yeah, true.
So that's its Bloodthirst. Its special abilities: field resistance 90%, slow resistance 70%, 75%. I mean, a range of 50.
All the ships have this, though, right? All the icebreakers.
All the icebreakers, yeah, I believe they do have this special ability that everything stacks.
Okay.
So I think it will stack along with everything, as far as I believe.
Let's scroll back up a little bit under the Bloodthirst effect thing. The most exciting thing to me, well, as excited as I get about a video game anyway, it was what the explosive damage plus 100%. That's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Makes you kind of wonder what the targets are going to be in the end.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Because like I said, I mean, when I was plugging in numbers into Huggies, like the fleet Drizzt and I are using is putting out like 500% explosive damage. So if you add 100%, that you're pumping out like 1 million points of damage.
Yeah.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah. I think my current.
It might be in there also, so you can turn around and add anti-weapons on each hull and not be hurt and damaged for the targets.
That's true. I didn't think about that, but that's a good point, Shane. That's a good point. If you could start taking off some of these rockets and adding some antis on there, and you could still keep that damage at the same level. All right.
What else is in there in the lock part?
We've got some time limited things that we've got until tomorrow afternoon. We've got D6A armor.
I'll be honest. D6A was something I used to love. D6A, but anymore, like almost all the targets that we go in are split between just two separate damage types.
Yeah.
So it almost seems like you don't need a 3 damage type buff anymore. So you're kind of almost better off using just the regular alloys.
Right, because you get at least 40 with the threes. You're going to get 45 to 50%.
I've got all mine retroed. I can tell you what you got on them. Let's see here. I'm pretty sure the alloys go out to 55% each.
Okay.
Let's see. That's compound 5. Where's my 6 at? Let's see. Let me look on the alloys just to make sure. Yeah, 55.7 and 56. That's why I use heavy plating whenever I need to reduce my speed. It covers all 3, and I get the speed reduction, but it also goes as high as the alloys do.
Right.
Yeah, so like I said, D6A I used to be a big fan of. Nowadays, not so much.
Right.
And yeah, I'm pretty much transferring the alloys myself on a lot of different things.
Yeah. We've got the new charged armors are also here, guys, and they're the same price as they were last month. They're 10 million a piece with a limit of 5. Last month they were a limit of 10. The C1M and the C1X.
I know I'll probably be picking up another 5 of the explosives myself.
Of course, we've got the shards that we normally have for the limited boats.
Are any of those capital ships even relevant anymore?
They sure would if the gluttony worked on them. They would be relevant. I would actually build a Hellstar if the gluttony could repair it.
I'm talking like the way they stand right now, though. Are any of them really relevant anymore?
Well, I see people still holding the Nemesis in their base, and it is still standing firm against a lot of these new Conqueror hulls. Pride and such. I've seen the Nemesis pan out. I've heard of Hellstars doing good still, but it's off a remote. I don't know how well it is if it was by itself.
I'm sure there's a lot of people that still maybe haven't gotten them yet that maybe still want to get one. It's just like, a little personal triumph badge or whatever. I mean, it would just be nice to see if they want to keep them relevant, keep pushing them, maybe update them a little bit again. But
right now the ghost crawlers are bunked. The EMP is not working on the ghost crawler. When the countermeasures went out on all the weapons the other day, the ghost crawler EMP is no longer working either, and they have not fixed that yet. So ghost crawler lost something.
Your other time limited prize is the Gale 3. We talked about that earlier. It was 1 million points each last month. This month it is 5 million. So just a slight increase in price.
Yeah, just slightly, only 5 times.
Slightly, only,
right. Honestly, and like we said, with the competition that the Gale 3 is having now with the Hellstorm D, I will not be picking up any of these. I'm not going to waste.
It's one of those things. If you find the raids pretty easy for you and you can get points fairly easily, get some Gales, because they're never a bad thing to have around. But I wouldn't, be like stressing myself real hard trying to get them.
I wouldn't prioritize them, but if you got the extra points in the end, sure, why not?
Well, they're going to be time. They're time limited, so I assume that
You
Kix
better
is
make a
trying
decision
to.
quick. Is an hour and 16 or day and 16 hours left or something?
Yeah, 1 day, 16 hours left to make a choice on the 2 time limited prizes. To me, they're 2 irrelevant time limited prizes in the game right now. There are much more important things I need to spend my points on than these 2.
Yeah.
So I think at the end of
10 million of mine.
I think at the end of the day, on the new flagship hulls, we like the Zagos Icebreaker. We like the Empyrean flagship. We're not all that impressed by the Gridiron, and the Harlock's Alpha Behemoth. We're kind of wishy-washy on.
Yeah,
true. That's
my take. Well, guys, that's all I've got.
I think that pretty much wraps everything up. I think we're all kind of anxious to get back to doing our raid. So I think that's what we're going to do at this point in time. I thank everybody who was here watching live and everybody who's going to watch later. I thank you and appreciate it. And if you could, mash that like button and subscribe, and we will check you guys next time.
Sure. Thanks, guys.
See y'all later.
Laters.